Welcome everyone. I'm so pumped to have you join me for this explainer where we're going to unpack some absolutely fascinating source material. Today we're zooming in on an ingredient that you've probably walked past 100 times in the grocery store, but honestly you might have completely underestimated. We're about to transform the humble soybean into a literal nutritional superhero, pulling directly from our source data. Get ready to completely rethink what this simple little legume can do for your body, your kitchen, and your overall health. So just imagine for a second. What if one completely vegetarian ingredient had more protein than meat, could miraculously turn into milk, and actively helped fight diabetes? I know, it almost sounds too good to be true, right? But for vegetarians struggling to hit those protein macros, or parents looking for genuinely nutritious options for their kids, or really anyone managing diabetes, this single ingredient solves some massive dietary struggles.
Okay, let's dive into Chapter 1, The Complete Food, Paripurna Ahar, Soybean.
Originally traveling all the way from Northeast Asia right into India, the soybean has steadily gained this immense importance, mostly because of its highly nutritious, wholesome extracts and just incredible adaptability. And the data makes it super clear. This isn't just your average, everyday legume. It's a true boon, especially for vegetarians and diabetics. It's uniquely packed with high-quality, vital Class A proteins, along with a whole arsenal of vitamins and minerals. We're talking vitamin A, B1, B2, calcium, phosphorus, carbohydrates, niacin, and iron. If you're health conscious, this is exactly the kind of complete food you want sitting in your pantry.
Moving on to Chapter 2, the king of proteins, Pratinchansa Raja. So protein is fundamentally essential, right? You need it for growing children who are just learning to crawl and walk, and for adults and the elderly to repair the daily wear and tear of their bodies. And the soybean delivers this on a level that is frankly mind-blowing. 43 grams. That is the amount of premium Class A protein you get in just 100 grams of soybean. To put that into perspective, your average human requires about 50 to 100 grams of protein a day. That means a single small 100-gram serving of soybean easily covers nearly half of your entire daily requirement. No way, right? When you stack it up against traditional protein sources, it's pretty eye-opening. For every 100 grams, goat meat gives you 20 grams, fish gives you 22 grams, and chicken gives you 28 grams. But soybean? It absolutely crushes them with 43 grams. It literally has double the protein of meat or fish. And compared to eggs, which sit at just 13 grams per 100 grams, soybean gives you a staggering 3 times the protein. Even among other vegetarian options, like wheat at 18 grams or rice at 8 grams, the soybean is completely unmatched.
Chapter 3, Minerals and Vitamins, Khanije ani Jeevan Sattve.
Breaking down the vital nutrients, let's start with iron. Obviously, without iron, there's no blood. And without blood, well, there's no body. An average person needs 10 to 15 milligrams a day, and 100 grams of soybean gives you 12 milligrams. You're almost hitting the target in one go. Next up is phosphorus, which is vital for brain function, nerve efficiency, and digestion. You need about 700 milligrams daily, and soybean delivers 680 milligrams. Finally, calcium, super crucial for preventing brittle bones and fractures as we get older. We need 500 milligrams daily, and soybean provides a very solid 250 milligrams. It is an absolute mineral powerhouse. Beyond minerals, soybean contains really satisfactory levels of rare B-complex vitamins, specifically B1 and B2, which are often missing in standard diets. Now, it does have slightly less vitamin A, but there's a super simple fix for that. Just pair your soybean with green leafy vegetables, and boom, your nutritional profile is completely balanced. Oh, and a quick side note, whether you use the white variety that looks a bit like black-eyed peas or the black variety, both are perfectly edible and share the exact same amazing properties.
Let's move to Chapter 4, The Kitchen Magician, Swampagaratil Jadugar.
Now, despite all these blessings, you might be thinking, doesn't soybean have kind of a strong smell and a slightly bitter taste? Well, yes, but there's a brilliant, simple home remedy to completely transform the bean. First, clean the beans and pick out any stones. Next, soak them for 5 to 6 hours and 3 times the amount of water and add just a little bit of baking soda. Once they swell up, wash them in clean water and rub them between your palms to remove the skins, exactly like you would with mung beans. Finally, lay this cleaned all out on a cloth and dry it in the sun. The bitterness and the smell, literally gone.
Once you've prepped it, the culinary flexibility is honestly unmatched by any other grain. You can grind it up with wheat or jowar for your daily flour. You can make usal, bakri, spicy curries, sweet halwas, sattu, chutneys, even chocolates and biscuits. Because it's so high in protein and low in carbohydrates, it's highly beneficial for weak individuals, people dealing with obesity, or those managing diabetes.
Chapter 5. Soya Milk and Pulp. Soya Milk Ani Chotha. Now we arrive at what might be the most incredible alter ego of the soybean. We're talking about milk. You can easily make this at home by grinding soaked beans, straining the pulp, and boiling the liquid with a little jaggery and cardamom. For any viewers watching this explainer who have diabetes, please pay close attention here. Soya milk naturally contains about 21% sugar, but, and this is huge, it contains absolutely zero starch. It's an incredibly rare and perfectly balanced dietary option. So the crucial point is this: when doctors restrict cow and buffalo milk for diabetic patients, starch-free soy milk steps right in to maintain that dietary balance. It even helps lower the sugar levels in the patient's urine. Plus, you're getting 10 to 11 times more protein than animal dairy, and it costs a fraction of the price to make it home. It truly is a medical marvel.
And you know what? It's a literal lifesaver for babies, too. When infants aren't getting enough breast milk, parents often turn to cow or buffalo milk. But sometimes babies just cannot digest animal dairy, which results in them vomiting it up in the form of curd. Soya milk, however, is easily digested. The research actually notes that for children suffering from rickets, where the belly swells and limbs thin out, soya milk acts as a true remedy, promoting rapid physical growth.
And you aren't just limited to drinking it plain either. Bottled soy milk is famously popular in China, Japan, Mongolia, Korea, and even locally in Nagpur, India, where they serve it as a highly nutritious, cheap cold drink in restaurants. You can use this milk to make tea, boil it down into basundi, or even freeze it into ice cream. You can even add a starter of cow's curd to it to make this amazing soya curd, which can then be turned into buttermilk, khadi, and shrikhand. And get this, it lasts for 3 to 4 months if you store it properly.
Oh, and remember that pulp left over in the cloth from making the milk? Do not waste it. In the spirit of zero-waste cooking, you can take that leftover pulp, which is called chotha, and use it to make upma, chutneys, or even a sweet shira. Speaking of byproducts, Japanese scientists actually invented soya meat from the leftover oil cake after extracting soybean oil. It's this odor-free, 100% vegetarian wonder that packs a massive 90% protein.
Finally, Chapter 6, Myths and Truths. Gair Samaj Ani Satya.
Whenever an ingredient gets labeled a superfood, it inevitably attracts some rumors, myths, and specific rules for consumption. First, a very practical, impartial rule regarding digestion. Because soybean is so incredibly nutrient-dense, it's slightly heavy to digest. For some folks, eating it every single day right out of the gate might cause a bit of constipation. The simple solution? Build your tolerance slowly. Start with small amounts in your diet and just increase it gradually as your body adjusts.
Now, what's really fascinating is a specific, kind of bizarre myth addressed in the source text. Apparently, a certain scholar once expressed a doubt, suggesting that constant consumption of soybean might actually weaken human reproductive power or cause infertility. Let's look at the facts.
The text uses some pretty brilliant logic to completely shut this down. Think about it. If soybean actually reduced reproductive power, then countries like China and Mongolia, where soybean is consumed daily as a staple diet, wouldn't have massive, booming populations. But instead of decreasing, the populations in these countries have grown tremendously. So raising a doubt like that simply makes absolutely no logical sense on a global scale.
So we've got to ask ourselves, with 43 grams of premium protein per serving, the ability to create zero-starch, diabetes-friendly milk, and a totally unparalleled level of culinary versatility, isn't it time to make this unsung hero the staple of your kitchen? It's affordable, it's incredibly healthy, and as we've seen from the data today, it truly is the complete food. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I really encourage you to start experimenting with soybeans in your own meals today. Catch you next time.